welcome back to Ralph's house. Yes, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, not helped really by the winter and this long lockdown we've had, which meant I've had to get on with other things. But actually, I'm here today in what is actually the box room of this house, and has become my small study, and somewhat cluttered because I've got so many other projects going on at this particular moment in time, anyway. And there's my fruit machine. And my 3D printer's busy doing stuff. So as I say, a bit difficult to find places for it all. And which brings me to the next subject, which is now downstairs, the back room. I did have, well actually I'll rephrase that, someone had plans for the back room, but that's all gone. So what my son and I have decided to do is turn the back room into a craft, a kind of make and do room. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think, you know, the pair of us really do like making and doing stuff. He's very good at art, so was I when I was at school, and I'd quite like to go back to doing some painting. In fact, I've got all my paint stuff in there, in the drawers in the bottom of my printer. I've got airbrushes, all kinds of stuff. But this isn't really the ideal room for that, partly because it's carpeted and I don't really want to ruin all that. So this room will become basically a small study, lots of books, paperwork, printer, that kind of stuff. And the other thing we did toy with, because this is the box room, is I did even think about putting a flight of stairs in and going up to the loft, but the costs and building regulations, and would I really gain that much by going in the loft? No, probably not. So that's out the window. But all this other stuff, you know, I've got pots of this and cans and all sorts of stuff. I've got a little micro table saw here, which actually comes up in The Factory. If you haven't seen that channel, there should be a link for it below if you want to go and have a look and find out what that's about. But you know, I've got all these sort of things, boxes of nuts and bolts. Don't really need that in here, and this, you know, this has become quite cluttered to say the least. But I've got nowhere else to put it, and I do need access to it. So we've decided that the back room will become a make and do room, and all that kind of stuff can go down there. After my father died, I didn't inherit a lot. Well, I did, inherited the house, thanks to my sister, but in terms of what my father left behind, because sad as it was to have to put his lifetime collection of things in skips, and I did struggle with that. I mean, I've got sympathy for anybody whose parent has passed on, and particularly if their parent were real collectors of things. What on earth do you do with it all? But I had to sort of come to terms with the fact that it was his life, not mine. They were his interests, not my interests. And music was a big part of his life. He amassed an enormous collection of music, which I'm sure, had I gone through it all, there would have been quite some valuable pieces, but I just let it go because, you know, I needed the room. But having said that, I did keep a lot of his books, and a vast majority of these are actually his. But interestingly, I've gone really for, and he had a lot of poetry. I've got a huge collection of poetry, by the way, that I've kept back. I have no interest in it at all, but I feel sure there's someone out there that absolutely adores poetry and would really appreciate those books. So I've set them aside in a separate box. But by and large, this is all sort of books of interest. Like, I mean, that's a cool book, isn't it? The whole book of the Avengers. The International Encyclopedia of Film. A Visual History of Batman. Actually, that's my son's. There's a bit of Mark Twain in here. There's certainly some Jerome K. Jerome, one of the few writers that I really did enjoy. But by and large, it's all textbooks. Do you know what I mean? stuff that I'm going to find useful. So as he also left something like, I'm guessing here, but well over 2,000 books. And because of the pressure of trying to clear things, I literally had to go, yep, no, very quickly through it, which was sad. But I just didn't have the time to go through and sort it. Certainly my sister didn't either. So I just went through it, and anything that I thought, yes, I might like to read that. I mean, I came up with that one, model railways, because I do have an interest in model railways. Whether I'll actually get back to putting, because I've got an N gauge layout, whether I'll actually get around to doing that, I don't know. I've got far too many projects, to be honest. So anyway, this room I'm going to keep as a study room, and I'll show you in a minute, because we've just kind of, like I say, we've come out of winter, we've come out of lockdown, and I'm basically down in the hallway now. I've finished up the top of the stairs. Well, just odd little bits to do, but nothing major. It's, you know, we can live up here. And the good thing about that back room downstairs, it means we won't have to carpet it. So I shall put a plywood substrate over the floorboards once it's all been wired, because now I know what it's going to be used for. I know how to lay the sockets out. They're all going to be at wall height, aren't they? So I'll put a plywood substrate on the floor, and then a vinyl floor on the top. And I've got a camper van, and it's interesting this, because I put a vinyl floor on it. It was an offcut from a local carpet place. In fact, the guy didn't even charge me. It was such a small piece. But I had to go once and rescue someone's small motorcycle. We managed to get it in the camper van, but it had a fuel and an oil leak. And I thought, well, that'll ruin the flooring. Didn't affect it in the slightest. So I thought, yeah, that's the stuff. That's what we'll put down in the craft room, because it'll make it nice and easy to sweep. We'll be able to do a bit of light woodwork in there, and if there is a spillage, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Should be able to mop that up. So yeah, so welcome back.
Cookery Corner.
So what's in Cookery Corner today? I'll tell you, in saucepan 1 we've got, and I've partly cheated tonight, mainly a matter of time, because I didn't have a lot of time to cook tonight, but I've used 1 jar of Aldi's tikka masala sauce, 55p, can't go wrong with that. I've cut up some chicken into chunks and onions into chunks, and then this is almost ready to serve. In the last few minutes I shall put in some chopped apple. And in saucepan 2 we have 1 packet of savoury rice, also Aldi, 25p, but I always find these sort of savoury rice, much as they're nice, a little on the salty side. So whatever I've put in the equivalent of packet, I've put in some ordinary long grain rice, so half and half, and add a bit of turmeric for colouring. So that's what we got for tea tonight.
Cookery Corner.
We are largely finished on this landing now. I've got little bits to paint. I've got a bit on the ceiling up there to paint. Sorry about the light, which I will get to next week. That'll be that finished. But generally speaking, falling into things, apart from a couple of others that I've got to put up yet. But yeah, we're kind of finished now, going down the stairs. Very pleased with it. Just put that wind chime up this morning, and my son said, that's a good place for it. I said, well, I can't think of anywhere else to put it. And some others may look and think, oh, that looks cluttered. I don't know. Clutter arranged carefully isn't clutter, and it's not clutter if you want to keep it. Stair lift has gone in. I still haven't decided exactly what I'm going to put down these stairs. I've got these temporary mats, because I knew with all the decorating they're going to get messy, and I didn't want it too noisy in terms of the neighbours. So yeah, so the stair lift is in. It killed us, it really did, both of us. Two of us on it. We're both fairly strong. I might be 60 odd, but I was I'd had a life of moving engines around and picking them up, so I don't mind a dead weight. I can cope with that, but oof, if you're ever going to take a stair lift out, be prepared. Yeah, anyway, so we got that in. I've got a couple more bolts to put through, but otherwise that's done. So let's pop down, and it's going to be a relatively short video this, because the practical stuff won't really begin until into next week, in fact. So, but you know, people have been pestering me. Where's your old house? And they're quite right. So, yeah, we are now all the way down the stairs, and these look awesome. They won't look right on camera. They never do because of the exposure. But yeah, it's really not bright at all. It's a very soft pink like that. So yeah, that's kind of the way I imagined it. I've got lots of smaller pictures of celebrities and film stars, people that I've liked or films that I've enjoyed. I've even got a small one of Shirley Temple. It's a fabulous picture, and that's going in there somewhere. But getting the line of these was difficult. Not least of which you've got that, and then you've got this curve here, but I think I managed all right. Visually it looks right, but if you actually went around with a tape measure, you'd find they're not exactly spaced the way you'd think. So yeah, so we're now down to this fabulous front door, and I've got to concentrate on this wall. I would have papered it, except that I realised I need to put a socket in, possibly here or the other side of the radiator down here. I've run a cable to the fuse box. It's sitting under those floorboards, ready to connect in, ready to connect the stair lift. The batteries, unfortunately, on the stair lift have now expired. I thought they would, because they're not being charged up regularly enough. So, but it's perhaps 30 quid for another set of batteries, and then we'll get that going. And once that's all in, those sockets are in, and I've got power down here, I can sort all this out. I've got a little bit more paper to scrape up here, not much. Paper these walls, paint these, and then we are actually into the front room. So as far as the house is concerned, yeah, I am creeping towards the front room. That's the main one, because it's going to have a bit of a steampunk theme to it. And so if I've got guests coming round, that's where they'll sit. I'm going to keep the double doors that my father had, because it means we can open up the whole area if we need to, or we can shut those doors if I want to work on something in the back. The kitchen, sadly, is what it was to start with. I've got a long way to go with that, but you know, we're two men, we're not that bothered. We can live with that for a long time. We can make tea, we can make food, we managed to cook all right, so that'll do us fine. So yeah, welcome back to Ralph's house, and next week, with a bit of luck, we'll start getting back into all this and running cable, and I'll show you exactly what we're doing. I've got a coat of undercoat on this door now. That just now needs a finishing coat, but because the weather had got so cold, it wasn't practical. The paint would blue, you just wouldn't get a nice finish. At the front, I don't know if you remember, but one of these walls are awful because they've been painted. I haven't come up with a solution for that yet. And also, these doors long term are going to have to be replaced. But I'm pleased to say, and like I say, if you go back through my videos, I decided before the winter to give them a coat of varnish again. I'll tell you what, touch wood, it kept all the water out. I won't say it was warm, because it wasn't. It could really do with double glazing on this opening, but it's going to be jolly expensive, and I don't have a great deal of money left, so it's not going to be a priority for me. I had my plans a year or 2 years ago gone ahead. We could have done a lot more with this, but it's you know, you have to work within your limitations, work within your budget, don't you? So that's it from Ralph's house today. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below, you know, even if it's about the study, you know, whether you like it or you dislike it, whatever. Do subscribe though, that's key, because if you don't subscribe, when you log into YouTube, you're not going to see my latest video, are you? It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It doesn't cost you anything to click any of these buttons, but it really helps me. Alright, so see you next time. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.